I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. Poppin' tan model BC couldn't brag 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 enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain.
And welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald, and joining me is my co-host Jim Sarro.
Hey Bob, thanks for having me. It is nearing the end of May. The action is not nearly as fast and furious in the Horizon League as it has been, but there's still stuff to talk about.
Oh, indeed there is. Jim, you can find on Twitter at Jim Sarro. You can find us on the web at horizonroundtable.com. You can find links to all of our social media accounts and sites where podcasts are available at horizonroundtable.com/subscribe. You can sign up for the emails. Anytime we got a story drop, you'll get it in your inbox. So go to horizonroundtable.com/subscribe. Become a patron, patreon.com/Horizon Roundtable. June 3rd, guys. That's when we're going to start the summer features. Like I said, James Moon has a feature on Alex Hubrick. That's the one that drops first. We're gonna be doing it all summer. Sign up for as little as $1 a month. You'll get exclusive access to those features at patreon.com/Horizon Roundtable. And of course, you can always donate. Yeah, we still accept donations, of course, at horizonroundtable.com/donate. And Jim, wouldn't you know it, the second we said, hey, we're going to take next week off and we'll record the week after, like literally a day after, what happens? Detroit Mercy gets hit with an APR ban.
This is what happens when your program is way down. If you think about they were coming off, I would have to imagine a lot of this is related to the one win last season of Mike Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. And so you have completely bottomed out your basketball program. And now, after a 2-year lift of, really nice work by Coach Montgomery to get them to the Horizon League championship game, now they're back on their foot again, on their back foot, and
yeah.
And I'm a little concerned for them this year. Obviously, nobody's leaving, but this will be a true test of the team culture that Coach Montgomery is building to keep everybody focused and playing for something bigger than themselves. When in today's world, with the idea of getting some stats and getting out of Dodge and getting paid, hopefully they're able to still keep themselves focused on just the idea of it's still important to win a basketball game and not have a backward step as a program, because it was truly awesome to see them lift up to where they got to last season.
Yeah. Well, I look at a couple of things here, and again, I feel really bad for the guys who are on this roster now. Kind of one of those sins of the father get passed on to the son type of deals. I feel bad for them. I feel bad for Coach Monty. He just signed a contract extension, man. He got a raise, and this happens to him. But I look at that roster still. I actually, even with the situation that they have, I look at that roster, and I look at a roster that still is that roster makeup is still really, really good. To the extent that I would say they're probably, even with the APR ban, they still, going into the season on paper, look like one of the best teams go into the Horizon League going into the upcoming season.
Yeah, no doubt. They returned some really great players, in terms of Spratt and Stone and London Maiden, and then they get the guy that was from D2 that was playing really well. They get him back from injury. Can't think of his name right now. And then they added some nice players. Like
that would have been, you're talking about Aiden Carter.
Aiden Carter. Yep.
Exactly. And
they have great players coming back. So it's not a matter of do they have players. It's just going to be the matter of keeping them focused on this greater mission, and whatever it is that they choose to make that greater mission. But it is, if you don't have everybody focused on winning in today's era, your program can go sideways in a hurry.
Sure. And I think one of the things too and looking at what they're coming in with next year, we've talked about this constantly. The fact that Monty has gone by and large, the not his entire recruiting strategy, but a big part of it is that high school recruiting component, because we saw that going into we saw that his first year. Now, naturally, all of the guys who were high school recruits, Nate Johnson, TJ Nadu, Ryan Callenbay, all those guys have transferred. But the second class with Lance Stone and Tyler Spratt, Jaquel Cotton, Xavier Dissom, and Monroe, they're all back this year. And then they got the 4 freshmen that are coming in this year. It seems to me that the the philosophy is kind of weather the storm. And then you get to a point, and it may not be at the beginning of the season, although we have seen it with Detroit Mercy specifically in the last, God knows how, the last couple of weeks, seasons. And I expect that to happen this season with the guys they got coming in. We may not see a lot of them this year, but also this is kind of kind of one of the silver linings of this APR ban is that once you get into the conference schedule, you can go in and start, giving these guys some playing time and seeing what they got so they can further develop. And I think that really benefited Detroit Mercy that first year, because when we saw the second year of Nadu and Ryan Callenbay, and to a lesser extent Nate Johnson, you saw those guys developing into the key contributors that they became. And I expect that same thing to happen with the 4 guys they brought back this year, specifically, again, Lance Stone and Tyler Spratt. And I don't expect any differently from the incoming class. Now, does that mean that the guys who are coming in as sophomores next year, do I think they're going to be around another year? I mean, if history is any indicator, probably not. But that's a Horizon League thing. If we get 2 years out of a guy, it's almost now given the landscape, it's almost the expectation that we're going to get 2 years out of the guys, and then they're going to go off and transfer elsewhere. And if that's what the case is, so be it. But I think it's also a testament, specifically with that freshman class, that the only one who basically, they only had 2 guys transfer out, Keyshawn Fisher and Zach Abdallah. Abdallah didn't really get any playing time, and Keyshawn Fisher's playing time kind of diminished a little bit as the season wore on. And that you were able to get out of that 6-person freshman class from last year, 4 of them stay in the face of this APR ban. I think that's a testament to guys buying into what Monty is trying to do there. And I think this year aside, I feel like that is going to be the blueprint for them moving forward. And this is a hiccup. This is obviously a hiccup, but I really do think Detroit Mercy is going to come out stronger at the end of this. And hopefully they learn some lessons from this. Unlike 6 years ago when this exact same thing happened.
I think the true travesty in all this is that, best I can tell, Mississippi Valley State is eligible for postseason play.
Indeed, they are. Oh, thank
Detroit.
you for bringing that up, because Mike Davis is now officially the head coach at Mississippi Valley State.
Now, postseason is not something that their program historically worries about.
Not even close. No.
But they're, in this case, like, that's one thing about the APR when you say the sons pay for the sins of their fathers. Like, Mike Davis is able to, move on, get another head coaching job, and do what he's going to be able to do with them. And Detroit, with a bunch of guys that primarily weren't there, none of these players were there 3 years ago. So I just really struggle with that. And I feel for them because they had some great momentum. They had, if you're down in Indianapolis for the Horizon League tournament, they got some other fans down there. Their fans were legitimately excited about winning that semifinal game and getting to the championship round. And it just sucks that they're kind of losing a little bit of that momentum here. So we will see what they're able to keep going this season. But no doubt the talent is there. I also
Oh
wonder
yeah.
about the timing of the APR ban. You mentioned Coach Montgomery got a pay raise and an extension. I wonder how much of that is related to maybe them knowing this was in the pipe, and they have a good thing going, and now they know as an institution they kind of have let down these guys.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wonder how much of this is kind of like, hey, we need to make right by you and make sure you're staying here
Oh
and
yeah.
building it and leading these men the way that you've been leading them.
Not to mention that the mention, I'm sure that behind the scenes they had to have known something was going to come down the pike, and the fact that Monty was able to retain the guys that he was able to retain, because you know as well as I do, if they're getting an inkling of this, I mean, there was a good chance that that Monty might have had to start over from scratch. But I feel like that's a testament to Monty as well to be able to, even in the face of this, and I'm sure I have no doubt in my mind that there were probably rumblings of this behind the scenes even way before we even knew about it. And the fact that they were able to kind of retain who they did and good players too, of course, is definitely a testament to what Monty is doing. I feel like, yeah, you are correct. I feel like this contract extension should be a testament or a recognition of the type of coach that Monty has been over the course of the past two seasons and moving forward. I have a lot of questions about that administration, though. Like, how do you have this happen twice in a decade? And in this landscape, how do you get that happen?
Are they on the
How
same
does that
athletic?
even work?
Are they on the same athletic director?
Yes. Yes.
Should they be?
No. But they are. Like, yeah, there's been an open question about that for a while. I'm sure Detroit Mercy fans, some of us who think we're biased out of our asses, which we're not, guys, by the way. Jesus Christ. No, Matt's not here anymore. Flip the script already. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I'm not
I mean,
advocating for it.
seriously. I mean, Jesus, like it's always like a disclaimer that there's always a disclaimer that we over here at the Horizon Roundtable somehow are slanted against Detroit Mercy. Jim, you seem to I'm sure you've only been in this position for about almost a year. Have you ever heard me, under any circumstances, be slanted against Detroit Mercy? Have you ever heard me do that? Ever?
Bob, you are slanted against one program in this league, and that's your alma mater, Cleveland State. Beyond that,
Uh,
no.
yeah, exactly. So pipe
Yeah.
down, Chachi.
Yeah. Picking on Cleveland State is a source of great joy
I
for
pick
you.
on Cleveland State as an institution. The team itself is actually the
Correct.
team itself actually looks like a lot. It looks like they're in a much better position this year than they were last year. Um, I think we talked about this last episode, but we'll jump into Cleveland State as it is. Cleveland State, whose administration just can't help stepping on rakes, and apparently, uh, and Jim, I know we had a conversation about Woodling Jim. Uh, it looks like they're seeking out bids to figure out how to reconfigure that so it actually doesn't look like a gym anymore,
So I have
which is probably not a bad idea, by the way.
I have a simpleton's question for you.
Sure.
If the Wolstein Center loses $1 million a year,
Yeah.
how many $1 million, how many years of break even to redo a $60 million facility to downsize the to the Woodling gym and renovate and downsize it? Because that's like a $60 million project. So like, if you don't have $1 million a year, how are you going to have the money to pay for this reconfiguration of
Well, I like to
the
put. Well,
Woodling
one
gym?
of the that is a good question, and one of the things that there's a couple of ways. I'm sure that I believe there's going to end up eventually being a couple of avenues where this happens. First and foremost, um, because because the currently money is already currently being paid to finance the rec center and the student center. Now, I'd like to point out the fact that both of these facilities have been online for 20 something years. So you would think that both of those facilities would be paid off by now. or at the very least to the extent where some of that money can get shifted over to this building. Now, mind you, of course, too, because the what is the Woodland Gym, which I guarantee you is going to not be called Woodland Gym anymore, if this whole thing goes through. That building is that gym, that venue is located within an academic building, the PE building. So I suspect that I feel like there's going to be a little bit more, for lack of a better phrase, financing leeway uh, for this particular venture than there would be with a standalone arena that is exclusively non-academic. So I suspect that will be in play as well. Now, one of the other things too, and I was thinking about this because I know you and I have had a conversation about this particular. Well, you and I have obviously had a particular conversation about the current configuration of Woodling Gym. And to your point, and I agree with you 100%, Woodling Gym is a gym. And I thought about this for a minute because I also remember back when Loyola was in the Horizon League, the original configuration of the Gentile Center. I believe you probably remember it as well.
I do. It was not nice.
No, it wasn't exactly. So, and then magically, and then from my understanding, the Gentile Center got a major makeover, and obviously now that's where Loyola plays today. I suspect that's kind of their Cleveland State looks at that and thinks and is of the um, idea that yes, this is something that would be that's something that would be amenable to our needs, especially since this is now located. This is be a facility, and again, I don't think it's going to be called the Wolves. I don't think it's going to be called Woodling Gym. I swear to God, Cleveland State absolutely needs to sell the naming rights to this thing. I think they're buttering up attorney Tim Misney for this, so they can call this the Make Him Pay Center. I'm crossing my fingers that happens, by the way.
That would be a fantastic home venue.
So Make Him Pay Center. I'm calling my shot right now.
You come in here, you're coming out with an L. We're making you pay. I love that. That has to happen.
Yeah, it has to happen.
I'm assuming that's your David Gruber.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah,
thanks to Jimmy, I know what Gruber Law is. So yes, one call. That's all. Jim Misney is Cleveland's version of Gruber Law. He'll make him pay. You should see, and I swear there's probably because his big thing is like he's got yeah, you know what? Yeah, I don't need to get into that, but yeah, the Make and Pay Center. We'll just call them the Make and Pay Center, and hopefully, folks over at Cleveland State get wise to that one, because yeah, that is a patron right there that is a benefactor that could definitely get return dividends for you. He's got a new book out too, by the way, so he's probably making money hand over fist on that too.
Is it autobiography or what do we got?
Of course it is. Yes, it is. That is my understanding. Yes, and again, I feel like I feel like they made a Cleveland State made a very shrewd move by making one of the games Tim Misney Day. They lost that game, but it didn't stop him from being very generous with his time, and from what I understand, generous with his money too. He dropped a boatload on CSU's Giving Day too to Cleveland State basketball. So yeah, that's a guy you got to keep in the fold, especially if you're thinking about this particular thing too, because naming the money for the naming rights for what would be this new center, I feel like is also going to be a source of revenue that will offset the cost for this particular undertaking. Because they're not going to get. This isn't Indiana. They're not going to get any state money for it. Cleveland State doesn't get any state money for anything anyway. And let's hope and pray to God that Viva Ramaswamy doesn't go through his idea of consolidating Cleveland State, Akron, and Kent State. What a fucking bad move that would be. Don't get me started on that one.
I'll take your word for it. When I think about like how times have changed, 15 years ago, Chicago State, they built a beautiful on-campus arena.
Yes.
The Jones Convocation Center. And
yes.
I think if every Horizon League team had a venue like that, this league would be super enjoyable, for every road game because it's really a nice. I've been there a couple times. It's a very
Sure.
nice building, and the steep angle of the seating chart or of the seating. It is really, really like everybody's in the mix. You're on top of the court, like, and we actually get fans. There's no
Mhm.
fans going to those games, but you think about 15 years ago, that's how you got things done. The state just
Yeah.
opened up the pockets. Obviously, the state of Indiana, they have done that for IU Indy's facility.
Yep. The gym is coming
I,
online this year.
it's
Season
interesting though
tickets
when
are available, by the way.
you look at the renderings. It's looks pretty mundane. Like they have a nice glass structure on the outside, so you have the
Sure.
indoor outdoor feel. But overall, like there looks pretty light on amenities. It's a single bowl, no
Yeah.
suites, no premium spaces that I can see. So I would say it'll be okay.
Yeah,
But
that's
that's
the
how I
thing,
get.
though. I think in IU Indy's case, I don't think they. I feel like they're not there yet. I mean, they've been playing in the jungle, which has got like which is also a gym. So they move from a gym to the gym. And to your point, by the way, I feel like that is the direction that this conference is going now. I know that people hit us with the nostalgia stick every time I turn around and lament the days where we had these 9, 10,000 seat arenas and we were they were getting full and blah blah blah. No, I, you. It, I mean, you gotta basically go with the, where the direction of this conference is, which is straight up Midwest mid-major conference. That's what we are now. And so a venue that is in the 4,000 seat range, which by the way, again, to your point, 15 years ago would have been completely unheard of in this conference. I don't even think 4,000 was even like the really I don't even think I think the when Oakland came into the Horizon League, if I'm not mistaken, they had to make an exception for the arena, which is 4,000 seats. They had to make an exception to their rule about arena size, which clearly has gone out the window. Because all of the arenas now that you see with the arena and the gym that's coming online and the renovated Zidane Family Arena, all of these venues are in the kind of 4 to 6,000 seat range. Now, there's obviously a glaring exception, that being Wright State, but Wright State can still pull that off. And but at the same time, then you have a Cleveland State arena that is just way too big for them, and it has been way too big for them ever since the Cavs arena came online 32 years ago. So a little bit of hubris there on hubris there on the architects of that particular venue's end. But most of those people are probably in the nursing home by now, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Um, but yeah, I feel like that rate and the Noblesville Arena, that's a 4,000 seat stadium, 4,000 seat arena. So yeah. That is the direction that the Horizon League is going. I know there's a lot of belly aching about that. I get that, guys. I get it. I get it. But to Greg Campy's to coin a phrase from Greg Campy, you got to adapt or die. And if you keep having a 13,000 seat venue and you can't even quarter fill it up, you're gonna die.
And I don't mind smaller venues for this league, but I actually appreciate like bringing it back to Detroit Mercy. They're in the midst of adding a really nice club room with a glass,
Yes.
wall that you can see into Callahan Hall.
Yeah.
That's the direction I would like to see some of the facilities going. Like, so if you're Cleveland State, you're
Yeah.
going to be redoing Woodling Gym. If you just end up doing what Loyola did,
We're gonna call it the Make and Pay Center until they stop telling us to do that, by the way. And by the way, this is Cleveland State. They're never gonna stop telling us to do anything.
So, like Gentile at Loyola has very little in the way of amenities, but it is a permanent seating bowl. It's not all retractable,
Yeah.
like flex space, like the NIU Convocation Center is all flex space. And
Mhm.
even the Zidane Family Arena has a lot of flex space where all the bleachers are retractable.
Yeah.
But putting permanent structure and putting in some premium space like that, it to me is where the money is
Yeah,
worth spending because the thing is, the people who write big checks for this stuff that pay for players
yeah.
and everything else, they want to have a private cocktail space. They want to
Oh,
have a place
sure.
where, at halftime they're nibbling on appetizers and
Yeah.
mingling with other high, power and influential donors. And most of these programs, even the ones that you would think, have very little fan interest, they have people with some wealth that are,
Oh,
helping to
yeah.
bankroll the program. So to me,
And,
I
and I'm
want to
glad you brought
see
that.
more of what
Yeah.
Detroit did, which is put in a premium space.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, and to your point, and this is the part that always blows my mind is the fact that Cleveland State actually has this space, but it's on the fifth floor of the arena. If you ever looked where that's located, nobody can see anything from there. Nobody ever could. You thought that was going to be a good idea 35 years ago? Really? No, bring that thing down. And by the way, to your point, that is actually that part is also a part for what it sounds like that's part of what they're looking for at least from when they're looking at this entire the start of this renovation plan. Now mind you of course this is you're probably looking at this being at least 3 years away from actually getting done, and this is Cleveland State, so there is a 50-50 chance this isn't getting done. So cross your fingers and hope to God it does.
Well, I mean, we can always look forward to the day when the Vikings home games are played at the James Rhodes Arena down the street near you.
You think Akron is going to be the kind of place that gets this consolidate things get consolidated? No. Actually, I think I already know what's going to I feared this. I've said this publicly once that I fear I know what will happen. Basically, they'll just take all their administrations, make them Ohio State campuses and call it a day. Because that's a lot of real estate. That's a lot of open real estate you're going to have if you basically kind of do away with nearly all that stuff. Like who's going to do what you have a hard Cleveland already has a hard enough time with the real estate that's open now. What makes you think that's a good idea to, what are you going to do? Convert it into more apartments that people can neglect? Sure, let's do that. No, I don't I don't think that but I don't think that's going anywhere. But yeah, I
I
feel
don't
like
know. I just
I
want
don't
to,
know, man. I live in the to you,
I just
but
want
to
to
your
push your
other point, I
buttons.
do live in but to your other point, I do live in the Akron area, so I mean, these games would be closer to me.
Yeah, we're just pushing buttons here, spitballing.
I mean, I see the goods and the bads of this, and like, I mean, the good, of course, the Cleveland State fans would basically be like, yeah, cool, and we'll just make them all Ohio State campuses so it can fulfill like the dream of like 99% of them who wanted to go to Ohio State anyway. Now they can, ask to have their diplomas because I'm sure every time they stare at their diploma, it's like, what is this Cleveland State thing that I've gone to? I don't know.
Picture
I
Monday Night
know.
Football about 2 years from now, and they're doing the starting lineup, and it's Joe Haziah Harris, tight end, Ohio State University at Cleveland.
Actually, no, he will not do that because he's down in Louisiana now. He's at Lafayette now. So sorry. He's gonna shout them up. And he could also do by the way, but then again, he also went to Akron, so we could also say Akron, Ohio State University at Akron too. So he has the choice of that, West Virginia, Lafayette, and Cleveland State. I don't think he's gonna go to the football route though, Jim, but it's a nice thought.
Hey, he's one of those guys though that if you look at his build, he looks like a football convert in the future, like the next Tony
Very
Gonzalez.
true. Very true. Yeah. So, uh, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about it. We talked about IU Indy, and I missed this by the way last month, and I actually posted a story on HorizonRoundtable.com, getting everybody up to speed on the lawsuits now plural. And I originally thought everybody was suing. Everybody wasn't suing everybody at the time, but nope. Nope, nope, I was wrong. I missed this in April. Everybody really is suing everybody. The players are suing IU Indy. The ex-players are suing Paul Corsaro. Paul Corsaro is suing IU Indy. Paul Corsaro is also now suing the players. All we need left is IU Indy to sue both of them, and then we're good. Also, but then again, IU Indy also basically threw Corsaro under the bus, who, by the way, is actually doing pretty well in the Israeli Premier League, I might add. Um, so yeah, he's a head coach now at Ironi God, Ironi Nezioni. That is the name of his team. At last count, they won 4 games in a row and got themselves out of the relegation zone. Is really in the top league in Israeli basketball. So good for him. I'm sure he would love to come back here though, but I don't think that's
I will
gonna happen.
not be
I
I
don't
would
feel
not
like
be
that's.
fact checking your work on that one.
No, believe me, I didn't want to fact check it when I was doing it because, like, it's like the last story was like, okay, because I missed it because I actually missed it because the filing was April 10th, and it was his answer to the because it was the answer to him getting attached to the ex-player suit. I missed because the first part of this document was his answers to that particular thing, and then the second part was the counterclaim, which I totally whiffed on. Anybody in Indianapolis media, throw me a bone and cover this for God's sakes. I can't be the only one.
Well, I think that goes to show you a little bit about there's either two factors in Indianapolis sports media. There's option one, which is the story isn't big enough for them to be relevant, or option two, which is they really do hold themselves out to be a sports city. Obviously, right now they're in the middle of getting ready for the Indianapolis 500. It's pull qualifying day over at the Speedway, and
Indeed.
but I think it's one of those cities where maybe they bury their dead bodies so nobody knows, and they just keep the persona of like
Well, I mean,
a
they have that
great
whole
sports town.
construction. That they have that whole arena construction going on. Good place to bury things. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
the
have watched
Corsaro
too. I have
countersuit
watched too
file
many
is
mob movies. That's on me, guys. Sorry.
yeah. Jimmy Hoffa's body and the Corsaro countersuit files are going to be in the footings of the new gym.
There you go. Yeah. No, I watched the. Yeah, I watched the Netflix. That the five families of the New York Mafia. That mini series on Netflix this weekend, and yeah, I got way too many ideas about that guy. Sorry. That's
Well,
just wrong of me, and I apologize.
speaking of Netflix, I watched the Hulk Hogan documentary, and I'm pretty sure there's a couple of clips from the Nutter Center in there because there was. I'm like,
Oh,
it's
I'm
the
sure
only
there
arena.
are.
There's the only arena I know of that has the yellow painted steps and hasn't changed since 1992.
I mean, I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't have any. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say they probably was at the Wolstein. I know he was at the Wolstein Center. It was called the Convocation Center at the time. It was 1996, and I was an usher at the time. He was there. I saw him. I seen him. But yeah. Uh, well, at least we didn't watch that. At least, yeah. I'm not bringing up that other documentary about that girl from Strongsville who like crashed her car at 90 miles an hour and killed her boyfriend and best friend. I don't know. I don't need to watch that. I don't really do very well with crime documentaries. Every other documentary I'm good with, but true crime, not really. So bad. Um, but yeah, that's what else we got going on. I mean, yeah, I think we talked originally about, we're at the point in time where by and large, we got most of the rosters pretty well sewn up. I mean, I suspect it will have a couple of more. There's going to be some extra names. Cleveland State isn't all the way done. We're recording this on a Sunday, but I suspect that Cleveland State will announce their remaining players in the coming week because they've been doing it once a day and not on the weekends because they don't work on weekends. It looks like. Because apparently scheduling tweets is not a thing. Cool.
Uh,
Um,
Bob, I will tell you that there were two additions to the Horizon League this week that I really liked for each respective team.
yeah.
Uh, for obviously for Green Bay, my team, they got a
Mhm.
6'7" forward from East Tennessee State. He did not play a ton, so you look at his stats, they're not going to be super impressive. But he's like I've been saying they needed the mobile big man that can stretch the court. He is a 35% 3-point shooter. My understanding is very good pick and pop guy, just can space the court. And the way Coach Gottlieb plays offense, having a 6'7" guy that can rebound a little bit, uh, that's a good flyer for them. He's going to be a
And
senior.
for the folks scoring at home, that gentleman's name is no, really, I have no idea.
Oh man, I can't think of his name to be honest with you right
You
now.
can't bring
And
it up because I don't know who it is. Oh yeah, Isaiah
yeah,
Sutherland. I just saw it.
thank
Okay, yeah, I
thank
missed
you.
that one, so I gotta update the transfer tracker now. Thank you.
Yep.
Um,
But that's a very good addition for at this point in the cycle. Like, okay, um, actually, there's three additions this week, but that one was really good. Then,
oh
in terms of
yeah.
opportunity, but the two I really like, the guy that
Mhm.
Oakland got from New Hampshire, and I don't want to mispronounce his name, but he was a very good player, and he looks like a prototypical what Oakland's been getting in the front court. Like when you think of the guys that they had last year, where they can bang around down low and rebound. But the guy they got from New Hampshire looks really good. He played at Wofford previously. He was okay at
You are
Wofford, but
referring to Bilal El Shakiri.
yes,
Yes,
that's
that
it.
guy.
I mean,
Yes.
anybody with Shaq in their name is going to be a power player in
Oh
this league,
yeah.
as far as
Well,
I'm
he's
the
six
guy from
eight. I mean, he definitely
the,
fits. He definitely.
the
I
Robert
feel like
Morris
he
guy with
fit.
Dunk in his name, and now this guy with Shaq in his
Khalil
name. Like,
Dunkley, man. Yeah,
yep, these guys are perfect, and I think
absolutely.
that's a really good fit. You know,
I was a
he
little
had
concerned about, and I was a little concerned about Oakland for a minute there, but looks like they've more than made up for lost time for sure.
yeah. Talk about getting a guy that fits the mold. You can go through their last 3 or 4 rosters and look at their team and say one of the most important players that they have looks just like this guy. And so I really love
Yeah.
that fit. And then the player that I really, really like, and I think is sneaky underrated, Purdue Fort Wayne got a transfer. He's originally from Gary, Indiana. He was at Florida International.
Yeah,
His name's
Ashton Williamson. Yeah.
Ashton Williamson, 6'3", combo guard. Now, the thing about Ashton Williamson, he had a really nice freshman year. Then he entered the
Yes.
portal and went to Iowa. But with Coach McCollum coming in, he did a Sheldon Dryden Williams and reverted back to where he was and went back to FIU. Now,
Yeah.
in his case, statistically, he did not improve at all. He basically had a carbon copy of his freshman season,
He did.
and therefore he did not really seem to have as much interest. So you talk about going as a freshman, he puts up 7 points and 3 rebounds and whatever, and he goes to
Hmm.
Iowa. As a sophomore, he puts up the same points. He ends up at Purdue Fort Wayne. But this is a guy that you could look at for Purdue Fort Wayne and be like, hey, what kind of guys have they had some success with?
Sure.
They have had this kind of guy, reasonable shooter,
Oh
but
yeah.
great downhill player, lengthy, athletic, can handle. Like, this is a guy that, maybe is a Stevenson. I wouldn't say a Had Not, because Had Not is just obviously at a whole nother level, but this is a really
Oh
good fit
yeah.
for them. And,
Well, I mean, remember it took had not 3 years to get to that level too, because remember he was the first guy off the bench for his first 2 seasons.
yeah. So I really like that fit.
I
And
do. The other thing, to your point too, I do also like the fact that over his 2 years at Florida International, he averaged about a steal and a half a game, and for a Purdue Fort Wayne team that really loves to produce turnovers, over as opposed to getting more turnovers on the other team than giving them as a team. I feel like this guy is a really good fit specifically to that scheme. And yeah, his 3 point numbers, I mean, yeah, they're if he's probably not your first option, but there's only room for improvement there for him, at least. I
well,
would
and
suspect plenty upside.
I, I also think that just okay, Purdue Fort Wayne is going to play fast, but they have some
Oh yeah.
structure.
Oh,
FIU,
they
I
always
have seen them
have.
play. Yeah, I've seen FIU play in person a couple different times over the years under the coach that they had. They got rid of him after this past season. He's now an assistant. His name's Jeremy Ballard. He's now at Marquette as an assistant. He was under the
Mhm.
Shaka Smart tree back at VCU.
Yes.
I thought that their style was a disorganized hodgepodge of just playing as fast as you could and not really playing carefully. I do feel like offensively, Fort Wayne has much more effective and pretty offense in terms of, they're playing fast, but there's a lot more structure. And when you put people in a little bit more structure at this level, I actually think that's going to help his 3 point shot. His shot's not like, it doesn't look bad. It just,
Yeah.
I would guess that he was green lighted to take crappy shots more than he can't shoot. That's just, I haven't watched every game,
Entirely
but like I said,
possible.
I've seen enough FIU basketball to tell you that I did not care for their style, and I thought it wasn't very particularly pleasing, and
Yeah.
and allow people to make that, like, it highlighted the best and worst in players, as opposed to, I feel like Kaufman's style more highlights the best in them. Like, yeah, they don't play great defense, but they get the turnovers, they get in transition, they get downhill, they can space out and shoot, and like it's like it. I feel like Coach Kaufman highlights more of the best in his players personally.
And to your
Than,
point, he's not going to be, he's not going to be in a position where he's going to be asked to basically shoot first, ask questions later. This is obviously, as we know, this is not how Kaufman's teams operate. So he's probably going to be at least on paper, he should be in a much better position to be a little bit more, uh, productive. And I feel like, again, I feel like there's plenty of upside on his end. So that's going to be a very good. It's definitely a good. I feel like it's a good spot for him, and it's a good spot when because as we know, Purdue Fort Wayne is a guard heavy team, and they always have been. And him being in this position, Williamson being in this position, I feel like it's going to be really good for him moving forward.
yes. So that's what I think was on the player movement side. I think that's where we're at. You said most of the teams are pretty much done. I know Green Bay's got one spot open yet if they want to use it. Milwaukee's done based on the articles that were
Yeah.
Coach Lundy had in the
Oh,
Milwaukee
they do. Yeah, I
Journal.
did notice. Yeah, I did make a count. Yeah, they're full up, and I believe Northern Illinois is too as well. So,
Yep,
um,
I saw a quote from Coach Matt that
yep.
they were full. He really likes what he has, and honestly, he did a great job. He went heavy D2, young and experienced guys, but then I think he really poured it on
Then he turned around and got David Douglas Jr.
amongst several really good players.
And not just Junior,
they got the guy
Douglas,
from,
is that Button?
yep, and they got the guy from Southern Illinois, not Southern Illinois, excuse me, Southern
South.
Indiana. That
Oh
they got a forward.
yeah, yeah.
They
What
went
was
and
his
got
name again?
Yeah, they went and got some guys.
Oh, Tolu
Bottom line,
Samuels. That's him.
yes.
Yeah.
Bottom line is they went and got some guys, and like I feel like their class really came together, and I know he's very excited. Not that
Oh
he
yeah.
called me and told me, but just reading his posts online, he's very excited about it. So
Yeah, it's funny because I look at the makeup of this makeup of his of the transfers he came in, and I mean we really did think that, yeah, I mean the way he started, yeah, he's gonna have, he got a bunch of Northern Illinois guys, Northern Michigan guys, sorry, who came with him. He's got 4 guys who did that, and then he brought in a couple more D2 guys. I thought, on this initially, it looked like he was gonna go the route that IU Indy went the last 2 years, and then nope, that's not what happened. Nope, he does. He's got some real. I mean, he has brought in some real solid D1 transfers, and so it is a real. Yeah, and again, I cannot stress enough the Bunton and Douglas acquisitions. I feel those two are going to be really, really good, and the Samuels one is really good too because he did yeoman's work at Southern Indiana. So I feel like that is all 3 of those guys are definitely going to be really helpful for Mac or Zach in that first year, and it's definitely going to be to their benefit. And I feel like this, I don't know why, but I mean, I know we were kind of apprehensive in year ones of the Corsaro era, year one of Corsaro, year one of Ben Howlett, and we were a little kind of apprehensive about kind of the way they went was super heavy on the non D1s. I feel like this is a different situation here with Mackersack in Northern Illinois. I don't know why I do, but I do.
yeah.
What are they going to
So
be
what else
mad
we
when
got going?
I was
No,
going to say,
nobody's
boy,
gonna
what
be
they going to be mad when they see my way too early picks.
mad. Yeah, you got to earn it, right? Coming
Yeah.
into the league off of a
You
tough.
know what? I just, and by the way, this will come out, it'll come out 1st July, as it did last year. And I disclaimed it once again. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again.
I've been wrong 10 times on this podcast, but whatever. It doesn't stop me from showing up every week
Exactly.
and
It's not
recording
like,
it.
yeah, I don't cower in fear. I own my fuck ups.
Most of them, at least.
I was incorrect, and I own being incorrect because I don't know why. But yeah, that's but yeah, the IU Indy is actually finally getting their folks together too. By the way, I feel like there's a little bit more on, still a little bit more on the non D1 side that they're bringing in. Um, so I guess we'll see. They
Yeah, I
had
think
the to be.
I would say the last piece I was going to want to talk about now that everybody's starting to fill their roster. This is just a little tidbit that I wasn't really paying attention to, but the
Mhm.
fact that the regular season has expanded to 32 games.
Yes,
So when you're thinking, hey, is the Horizon going to be going to 22 conference games or staying at 20?
excellent
And
question.
then you're evaluating like how many buy games do we need versus other types of games, the buy games so we can get the best roster possible. Well, with the extra
Mhm.
game, like, hey,
That's one less you don't have to worry about. I mean,
well,
yeah,
yeah,
you're gonna. I mean, there are obviously, as we know, there are stipulations with, uh, there are stipulations in these players in these teams' contracts that yeah, they got to go out and get some buy games and whatnot. But you are seeing that come together too at a certain. You are seeing some. You are actually seeing some games kind of already starting to come to the fore, it looks like. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm not gonna piece that together. I'm gonna let experts like D1 Docket deal with that one.
Which is a tremendous follow. They do a great job on
Oh, absolutely.
giving all this
We
information.
haven't honestly
I
we
was
haven't
just
had it on the we had him on the podcast like back in 2020 and it's like yeah, we haven't had it on lately. I feel like we might need to do that over the summer,
yeah.
probably.
Well,
I don't know.
I just thought it was interesting because I wasn't really paying attention to the fact that the regular season has gone from 31 to 32 games, and with the
Yeah,
league expanding from 20 or potentially to 22 conference games, it still gives you enough room. The extra game is a lot more important now because it gives you enough room to still get your buy games in
sure.
and get the money that you need. Or if we're only playing 20 league games, it gives you maybe some more creativity on how to get games. Like I see Green Bay as an example, they scheduled 2 home and home series with lower than them based on recent results teams, but they're starting on the road in both games, so they get some future home games going. So like
Oh boy.
it's kind of interesting thinking about.
Sorry, I'm on D1. I'm on D1 dockets thing and spreadsheet and boy, who wants to tell them that they didn't put Green Bay on there? Whoops.
Well,
Or
after
maybe I just scrolled past too fast. I don't know.
Bob, after a 5-win period in which 4 of the seasons netted a total of 20 wins,
Yeah.
it would be natural for anybody tracking this stuff to be like, I ain't tracking that crap. But now, after an 18-win season and a big turnaround, maybe it'd be time
Yeah.
to add it back to the docket. But they are playing at Kansas City in a home and home starting on the road. They're
They
playing
are.
at
That is true.
D1 transition school, West Florida. Believe that's the
Yes.
home of, for old basketball fans like you and I believe that is the home of Moochie Norris, who played for the
Oh
Bucks
man.
and a few other
Remember
places.
that guy? Yeah.
76ers. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was at a time where the NBA had guys like Smush Parker and Moochie Norris.
Smush
Like,
Parker. Oh man.
yeah.
Ah, Smush
Anyway,
Parker.
but pretty sure Moochie Norris was a West Florida guy, if I remember correctly. And Green Bay's
Entirely
going to be going out to
possible.
Pensacola to play them in November. So it's just interesting to see how teams will handle this. So, like, Oakland, the way Coach Campy is with his connections and always wanting to have the best roster possible. Extra game, I would be hard pressed to see that be anything other than a buy game. Like,
Very true.
it'd be curious to hear him say what he's going to do with it. Some of the
True.
other schools, like Northern Kentucky, they like to have home games. They've had as many as 3 non-D1s. Do they go 4
Which is
non-D1s?
interesting because as of right now, it looks like they do have they well, yeah, they do have to. They're on the other side of on the home and home. They're on the road part of the home and homes for Boston U, Eastern Kentucky, and Wofford. ETSU is coming to Truist, and I guess so is Central Michigan. And by the way, before you even ask, Campy's already got the bye games coming. He's already got the bye games lined up. He's
What
got
do
a
we
game
got?
against Stanford to start the season, Purdue, and of course the annual Campy Izzo soiree against with Michigan State. I'm assuming that one is going to be at Christmas time. It'll be at LCA, and the ugly sweaters will be worn for sure.
I feel like Oakland and Purdue is starting to become a thing too, where that's a pretty regular game. Or
That's true. I mean,
maybe I
yeah,
just have it wrong in my head, but I feel like it's like the third time they've played each other
yeah.
in the last handful of years.
Incidentally, Cleveland State's got a bye game against Xavier too, by the way. That's been announced. So we got that going for him, which is ironic because the last time that Cleveland State played Xavier, Xavier almost lost that game in the NIT and ended up getting fired and ended up in Ohio. Have you heard how he's doing?
Didn't they go? Didn't they go
So
anti Mike Davis last year, Miami of Ohio?
what happened this year with him in Miami? It's scuttlebutt, really.
No, I'm saying
I believe
Travis Steele. He went the opposite
he
of
did
Mike
not
Davis.
run
He
the
went
table over for sure.
yeah, he went undefeated versus winless. Oh well, that's neither here nor there. All right,
Yeah,
Bob. I feel like I'm definitely making bad references now, worse than
so,
normal.
um, for sure. Um, yeah, you know what? It's the end of May, so I feel like I feel like we'll probably some of the summer. I don't know what, but I'm sure it's going to be something. Uh, we'll let you know. Go to horizonroundtable.com. We'll let you know. We'll be there.
Next weekend should be an off
So
weekend. It's Memorial Day. Nobody wants to talk Horizon League basketball.
next weekend, no, that goes without that goes with Memorial Day weekend. We are not doing jack, okay? Enjoy your holiday, everyone, and you'll again. The big thing this summer for us is the features. It's on they're exclusive to patrons for $1 a month. You can go read those. Though we had some great ones last year, we've got some great ones this year. That's the thing. What That's our focus. Our focus is on the summer features. That's what we're doing. Um, we'll probably do a few episodes over the summer. I mean, we got to keep this up a little bit, don't we?
Oh yeah. Well, plus
I mean,
we got to.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not all that eager for the next episode because, that's we've been pretty well nonstop since I mean, well, you've been nonstop. But yeah.
Hey, all I know is that we'll find something to talk about, and if we don't find something to talk about, I'll just fill the hour by talking about my daughter's U11 club basketball team that pushed their summer record or spring record to 14-1 and won their fourth tournament of the spring season today. I could talk endlessly about that, and honestly, if we don't get some action on the Patreon, I think I'm going to start talking about that every week. Yes, punishment for those who listen for free.
Yeah, I mean, got to pay the tax somewhere, guys.
I tease.
There's a reason. I don't. There's a reason we still have ads on our site. That's the reason, guys. They suck. They're intrusive. But at the same time, we also want to pay our writers. And by the way, we still need writers. We still need we need somebody to cover IU Indy. I mean, seriously, we don't have a Milwaukee writer. I don't get that one at all. Seriously, IU Indy, I get because it's IU Indy. Milwaukee, I do not get at all. Milwaukee, I do not get why we do not have a writer. And we have never been able to keep a writer on to save our lives. And it's like the Milwaukee writer, the role is like the drummer in Spinal Tap. It's always rotating. And there's always something that happens, and we always are looking for another one. So yeah, definitely IU Indy and Milwaukee. We don't have to worry about Wright State anymore. Blake Schumacher's back. Now I got to do is get him to write stuff. So hey, there we go. But yeah, I think everybody. Oh, and Robert Morris. We don't have a Robert Morris writer. Yeah, I think I know why we don't have a Robert Morris writer, because we don't pay anybody. And those are really good journalists who should, well, they all are. They're good writers that need to get paid. I don't know how many times I can bring this up, but I'll bring it up again. Many, many times. Anyway.
All right.
So horizonroundtable.com, that's where all of our articles and all our podcast episodes are at. Sign up wherever podcasts are available. Again, keep them notifications on, so when we actually do when we do a new episode, you'll be notified of it. It's awesome. And I know they work. iHeart won't shut up about it. Which, by the way, I believe iHeart is getting bought out by SiriusXM or some shit like that. I don't know. That's way above my pay grade. So, yeah, horizonroundtable.com. That's where we are. You can pull us up where podcasts are available. And, of course, you can always pull us up on your Amazon or Google devices. So tune in next time. Enjoy your summer, guys. Sign up for the Patreon for the features. Until then, thank you all for listening.